come a little closer and lend me your ears. Don't worry, you keep yours while I keep mine.
In each episode, we'll dig into the major stories, uncover the truth, and retrieve gems from Yada's blog. We'll discuss what's right, bark about what's wrong, wag our tails at the thrill of discovery, and take you on adventures through the exciting world we live in today.
So, fasten your curiosity leash and get ready.
Right then, coming to you with another episode of the Yada's Vlog on a Blog. Tomorrow's news, disseminated today. Let's dive in.
Oh my! I'm glad to have a youngster introduce the program for us three graybeards here. The man on my screen left, my right, but screen left needs no introduction. He is probably the man that most would call Mr. Covenant. This is Shannon. Shannon is the fellow that has managed to meet almost all of us and press the flesh. You have dined and shaken hands with, I think, virtually everybody that's been at the Covenant for any length of time.
Yes. Very enjoyable journey. Talking with someone about Yahweh, and they love him as much as I do. I mean, there's no better conversation than that. It's just been
and
great.
what you found, it doesn't matter if they're boys or girls, men or women, young or old, been in the Covenant for a matter of months or been here for 20 years. Pretty much everybody's the same, aren't they?
They are. It's been great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. In fact, every time I hear you having been someplace, you will talk about how it was a warm greeting. It was like we've been family for years. We couldn't get enough conversation. It just went on and on. It was comfortable. They invited me into their home. We broke bread. Just every aspect of it has been wonderful. Occasionally, you ran across people that you said was a little bit shaky, and then you found that within weeks or months of that time, they were off doing their own thing and out. So they never. It was obvious to them at the time they didn't belong.
Well, it's amazing that the three that I can think of were three that actually did not invite me into their home.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's, I look back at it as, over the last year and see those things that I didn't pick up on at the time.
Yes, but, you wonder, this is a little bit odd, but here, you're traveling. They don't know you other than by reputation. But what would it be that would cause three people to be different than everyone else when everybody else not only invited you into their home, but wanted you to have meals with them? When you came here, you lived in our home.
Yes.
I'm not sure you ever left our home the entire time you were here, right?
It was wonderful.
We had every meal together. We did things from sunrise to sunset.
Yeah, I mean, you, Leah, Rich. I mean, it was just a wonderful experience. What little bit of time I got to see you, because you're translating, studying. You're in that room, and I appreciate your dedication to this mission. I could see it, and when I was there.
Yeah, what you saw, and I so there wouldn't be any surprise. What I told you before you came, I told Rich the same thing, and Perry even the same thing, that I'm just not going to change. I've been dedicated to this for 25 years. And then once it went from anonymous to you have responsibility, I've really buckled down. This is what I do. I get up before the sun, and I do it to well after the sun has gone down. And I do it 7 days a week. And, I come up for a couple of meals a day. And other than that, now to do these shows, I have really no life apart from that.
I saw that firsthand.
Yes. Yeah, that part's for real. Whether it's, some people might say, that's too much. You've got to fit some life in there. But, I've had a wonderful, full life, aches and pains, good and bad. But it's been a very full life up to the point of the last 25 years. I don't view it as being a sacrifice at all, but it's pretty intense.
Well, you're much appreciated by all Covenant family members. So,
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about your story. What was it that caused you, and how long ago was it that you felt an introduction to Yahweh?
Yeah, I remember the last time I went to church was in 2012, and I just knew this something's not right. This can't be of God, and I walked away, and knowing that there was still a creator, but I knew that it wasn't in that setting. And it was 5 years later that 2017, February 20, I think it was February. You could probably look back at the archives of the Coast to Coast show and see when you were on. I think it was February of 2017 that I met y'all that night. When I got home from my exterminating late night, I'd always listen to Coast to Coast. You came on, and I looked up the Coast to Coast site when I got home, and then found you and went into your site and started reading, and didn't stop for a year and a half. I just
that, by the way, is fairly common. It's you're probably somewhat similar, weren't you, Kevin?
Exactly. The second that I saw,
The same thing was true with Leah. Same thing was true with Rich. Same thing was true with Kirk. Same thing was true over here. Perry raised his hand. It is so exciting to see truth, to find God and see Him as He should be, as you know He would be. Apart from all of the religious muck and corruption of who He is, when you actually see truth and it's laid out for you to examine and consider, it's pretty hard to pull away from.
Yes, it is. It's that relationship. You know, you have a relationship with the creator of the universe. Okay.
Yes. Personally, and
yes,
there really is no intermediary. Yeah, I work at the translations, but you didn't need any direct contact with me to learn about Yahweh and grow, did you?
I was on my own for up till last year when we started doing Facebook and meeting each other. I was pretty much on my own. And
right. In fact, we knew very little of each other personally. Same thing would be true with Kevin. I mean, I didn't know Kevin very well. I didn't know Rich very well. It's kind of an interesting thing that when you just lay it all out, you say, this is what I'm learning. I'm going to share it openly. You're free to read it, accept it, challenge it, whatever you wish to do. But here it is. And based upon what God has actually said, we're more than smart enough to be able to process this, come to understand it, and respond intelligently to it, and then engage in a way that's productive.
And I think what you said, Kirk said one time, was you have to want it. You know,
gotta have the want to.
The want
gotta
to.
have the want
yeah.
to. You gotta have the want to.
Want to.
Yeah. And in your situation, you had both an exceedingly positive and exceedingly negative thing happen very early on in this process. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. It would fit in with the year and a half. And I come to understand, and I was able to teach my my son and my daughter, you know, or talk to them about it, and so my son became Yahweh loving. Told all his friends about. They would sit at his TV and go to the site, and he would show them things. And
what's your son's name, Shannon?
Patrick. Carl Patrick Henry Leroy. He had 4 first names.
Okay, well, and Patrick was his favorite of them, or just
well?
Pat?
Well, a lot of people called him Pat, but Patrick actually came from my first name, so I'm actually Patrick Shannon. And so,
okay,
yeah.
And what did you call him for the most part, besides son?
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yeah. Yeah. Had
So you had the greatest joy there is in life, and that is to have a son and daughter come to know Yahweh and be part of his eternal family. That's as good as it gets.
Yes, you can't ask for any more than that. And of course, my daughter, she's made that decision. Daddy, I know what you're saying. I just want to live my life and go back to the dust of the earth. She's not religious. She's not political. I'm hoping for the dapple chariot. You know,
Yep.
I actually have another daughter, twin girls, and she's in Missouri with my grandson. And while I was there I met Mary Peck, and she was about an hour away in Missouri, and we had a awesome meeting, and she took me out. I think we had some Mexican food, and when we got ready to leave, we had a picture taken, and she handed me 2 books. And I've always used my phone or my TV to read translations, and
Okay.
but both books are the same. They're the Tsarah, and so I've made sure both of my daughters have one of those books. So they know what.
You know what? I think when we came to realize, Shannon and Kevin, that we are going back to Eden for a specific reason, and that it's going to be 1,000 years long, and there's going to be this very substantial, by comparison to actually covenant members, participants that we're able to bring back in, and they start off with virtually nothing, kind of a clean slate. And then they have 1,000 years to get it right. And we have the opportunity to teach them for 1,000 years. I have just long, once we recognize that, come to a really a comfortable position to say, then for all of those people whose lives we have touched, but just wasn't enough for them to come out of this world and to trust Yahweh. They didn't have the want to that we did. They would be the most likely, therefore, the mortal remnant, wouldn't they? Can you think of anybody? I mean, once we're gone and then we come back and then we're empowered during that 3.5 years, that's such an extraordinary set of circumstances with so much directed to Yahweh. You would think that they would be first in line and say, oh boy, we missed out on that one. We'll get back in place.
Right. I've thought about that with my daughters, of course, and they're neither one political or religious. They listen to me, and but I think about how Yahweh loves His children, and Yahweh loves who we love too, and so that does make sense that they would be that first in line for that, and so
yes,
and I just trust Him because that's.
So you're about to embark on a, I think it's Call Your Next Witness. If we're listening to Leah, she wants to brand it as Call Your Next Witness, which I think is pretty clever. But it's your show, so you get to title it however you want to. But then you have to go to her to do your artwork. Although Matt's gotten pretty clever at it, too. I just find it's easier to go along with Leah most of the time, but that's of course your call. But you're going to do a program where you each episode interview a covenant member and talk to them about their history and how they came to know Yah, and also just what their what is important to them at this point in their lives.
Right. Yes, and I think this show here is good because instead of me contacting them and they watch the show, they can contact me saying, yes, I'm interested in doing that. And
yes, I think it's perfect. And that's the beauty of the Yada.com website now with the chat function. You're there as one of the members, so you're easy to find. There's Shannon. And so they can contact you directly, or they can write a topical post and you can see what they have shared. And you're actually going to co-host this with about the most plugged in guy there is within the covenant family. Yes. So the online, you're the most plugged in terms of pressing the flesh and meeting people in person. Matt is the most plugged in terms of being everybody's favorite online. Wouldn't that be fair,
Yeah.
Kevin?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Matt has his own fan club. He is. If we were to be a cult, he would have to be our cult leader because everybody loves Matt.
The charismatic leader. Yes, indeed. Yep.
Yes. Everybody loves Shannon, who has met Shannon in person, which is most everybody. But in terms of just the day-to-day, we're online. It's Matt that they're saying, "Hey, Matt, got a great post. Appreciate you, buddy." Our Matt doing the same thing, appreciating other people and
that's
patting them on the back.
Get Matt going around giving out his little nuggets of love as he does every day.
He
making
does.
Sure everybody
he is all over it in terms of the nobody hearts better than Matt, right?
Right.
When he brings up yada.com, it just must glow pink.
Right.
So you're going to co-host with, and that it's nice not only for the fact that you have everybody's contact information, so you of course can contact them because you've met all these people personally.
I have everybody's cell phone number.
Yeah, so you can contact all of them and get them on the program. But also you've got Matt now online, and he's definitely a draw. And
I think thankful
the combination
to
will be
have
great.
Matt. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, great! And you guys have even done a test show, haven't you?
Yes, we have. Yes.
Okay, I like it. So wonderful. That is what. There's just really nothing better than us becoming much broader in our the way we communicate, the way we share who we are and how we've come together. And it's a variety of people. We have quite a number now that are Gen Zs, and we've got quite a number that have gray beards. Pretty equal between men and women. Pretty equal between Goyim and Yisraelite. Pretty even all the way across the board in terms of just a really great mixture of people, and moving into the place now where with yada.com we can communicate without being in the sewer. And because of that too, we have a home for all of these programs. So we'll create a way to highlight them all on the site.
Exciting times.
But you mentioned Coast to Coast. That was such an odd place to be because Coast to Coast is primarily a conspiracy show. I mean, they want to talk about alien abductions and what is it? Something 51.
Area 51.
Area 51. There it is. Area 51, and all sorts of just crazy theories. That's the Art Bell was the founder of the program, and he turned it over after a number of years to George Norrie, and then he ran it. What people don't know is that even though it was on at an odd time, it came on at midnight, ran until 3 a.m. Depending on the time zone, of course, it was a little different in different places. And Art and George, of course, live on the West Coast, so it wasn't quite as late for them, but it was for the rest of us because it was a live broadcast show. But it was actually the number one talk radio program.
Unbelievable.
He had bigger audiences. Yeah, they had bigger audiences than did Rush Limbaugh. And
wow.
I may have been the only person to do 4 of those shows and have all 3 hours 4 times. And it took place because Art Bell, who had retired and turned over the reins of that program to George Norrie, he had been asked to do 2 guest appearances. So that George needed to go off and do something. I don't know what the deal was, but he said, I will do them, but I get to pick my guest. And that next day, he found me and he says, I've, here I am. My name is Art Bell. I've Coast to Coast, and I'm going to return to my own show and do 2 guest appearances as the host of my own show. I told them I would do it on the condition I could have you as my guest. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is really odd because, I don't, much like conspiracies. And you've been a conspiracy show, but okay. what's up, Art?
Mhm.
It was my deal with Yahweh on this, and Jerry McLaughlin, who did a lot of the bookings, is that I would do any show. I was not showish, as they say. I would do anything. You know, you have somebody who wants to interview me. I don't care what time it is of day or night. I don't care how big or small their show is, how much it is syndicated, where it's broadcast around the world. I don't care what their background is. I'll do any show. And I'll go back if they want me to come back. My job was to convey the message. And so I was always willing to do it. And he said, the reason I have chosen you is because you're the only person I know in the world who is outspoken against the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. And you have made it very clear that we're making a bad situation worse. And nobody wants to address that. We're at a time early on during those wars where, as an American, you either rally around the flag and you salute your president and you are patriotic, or you're considered a scum of the earth. And, you know, I don't really give a crap what people think of me. So I had written the 2 books on Islam, Tea with Terrorists and Prophet of Doom. I knew exactly what they were going into. I knew George W. Bush. I had spent a lot of time with him privately, and I knew that he was a buffoon and that he wanted to be a wartime president. And so I knew exactly what he was going to do and disrespected him enormously, even though I knew him very well and personally. I just understood exactly what we were doing there. And I knew we were going to make a bad situation worse, and that there was no possibility of a positive outcome, and that we were lying about everything, and that there was no way to fix an Islamic country. And I was outspoken about it. I've never changed. And I was right also about it. The only person that was right about it. And so I said, okay, I'll do a show for you on that. And he said, great. I said, by the way, you're signing up for 2 shows. And by the way, we're not talking about a 15-minute or a 7-minute segment as they would normally do. We're not going to do a 7-minute segment. We're not going to do 2. We're not going to do 30 minutes. We're not going to do an hour. We're going to do all 3 hours. And oh, by the way, you're going to be on your own. I am not going to agree with you on the show because of what the risk that I would have to take doing it. But you don't seem to be afraid of doing it. And so I'm going to ask tough questions. I'm going to come across as if I disagree with you. And I'm going to let you prove me wrong, because I want to be proven wrong, because I happen to agree with you. I just don't personally, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that, because I know what the consequence is going to be to you for saying it. And since you're willing to do it, why should I have to endure it? Right. You're on your own. But my guess is you're not a wallflower. You're not going to have any problem with that. I said, absolutely not. So that's how we did it. And boy, a lot of people were reached because of that program. You know, I was indicted and convicted because of that program. However, I can't go to Canada anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Canada indicted me and convicted me of hate crime because I spoke the truth about Islam.
Unbelievable! Wow!
Yep.
Wow!
Yep. And it was right around that time too. I got the fatwa from Saudi Arabia with a significant bounty on my head to kill me. So yeah, fun times, right?
Right. It always amazed me that you were on the Genesis network of all things for years. I mean, it just has to be about money, or they don't listen to their own programming. Because, I mean, how do you go show up on the Genesis network?
Alex Jones. I mean, Alex Jones was the star of the. And he was Mr. Conspiracy of the Genesis Communication Network, and all of the Christian evangelicals, almost all of them, were on the Genesis Communication Network. And here I was opposed to all of them, because I knew that I could overwhelm anyone in debate on Islam. I still can. There's no one that can debate me on Islam. It's so laughable now when a Facebook or a YouTube chastises me for a hate crime on Islam and say they have to protect the community. What I'm saying is not true, because there's no one that knows the religion and knows what's true more than I do, and that their AI doesn't know 1/1,000,000th of what I do about the religion. So it's always just been laughable as to the response. But the advantage of the whole thing is that it was Yama that asked me to begin by criticizing Islam, and immediately after that, he positioned me into rebuke Christianity and prove that Christianity was also untrue. But by proving those religions were untrue, I was able to show this is who God is not. And that really put us in a very unique position to say, I can now share with you who God is without any religious trapping. And once you clear away that muck, then you're in a much better position. I know I'm writing so much now about the last days and Dowd returning and him being the Messiah and the Son of God and the fulfillment of the last three Moed Mikre. And when you do that, you realize that really the job all boils down to being the first person ever to recognize that Dowd is the Messiah, the Son of God, the chosen one who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Vakodim and became our Savior. And that is the single most important discovery in human history. And once you recognize that, what you also realize is that Jesus Christ is nothing but a satanic counterfeit, literally a fraud created by Satan to direct attention away from the actual Messiah and Son of God, who is the Savior, Dowd. And boy, you want to talk about putting yourself in a position where you're not going to be popular. Well, that'll pretty much do it. You're going to condemn Christianity, Islam, politics, and Marxists and MAGAs and conspiratorialists. And the only platforms to speak on were those of religious Christians and conspiratorialists and the like.
Well,
but,
it wasn't.
You just deal with the world as it is. You don't get to say, no, I'm only going to speak on a talk show or a channel that is supportive of Yahweh, because guess what? There was only one, and that was the one when I hosted, and even then, it was hosted on Genesis.
Right. And you can't tear all those things down until you have somewhere else to go. You can't just sit there and throw rocks at everybody, right? You can't just, you have to say, you're wrong, but you have to give people somewhere to go. And that's what the most important part of this was, start with God's name, Yahweh. Nobody else out there is even close. And then when the keystone, the cornerstone, as Yah comes in with Dowd, I mean, everything blew up from there. It's like, wow, everything just comes into clearer picture,
Yes. It's very much like what we talked about from a secular point of view when people were over the last 20 years have been rioting in Ukraine. And my Prophet of Doom, which is now Goddamn Religion, had the biggest influence of any book ever written in the Ukraine, and was responsible for taking the majority of Persians in Ukraine from being Shia
Iran.
Muslims to not being religious. So it really had a tremendous influence. But every time that there was an uprising, and there's been many over the last 20 years in Iran, my response has always been the same, that it's not going to go anywhere. And I always say that this revolt isn't going to go anywhere because of two things. One is they don't have critical mass. You need at least, it used to be 3%. My guess is you probably need 5% of the population to support your revolution, and they never seem to have that much traction. Second is that if you're going to have a minority overwhelm the majority, then the minority has to be more vicious than the majority, which is what happened with the Nazis and the brown shirts and the like in Germany. And it's what happened with the Bolsheviks and the Marxist Leninists in Russia. And same thing was true in China. They were a distinct minority, but they were the ones with the arms. They were the most vicious. Same thing, by the way, happens to be true in the Americas. Our revolution was extremely unpopular, but the ones that were most willing to shoot the guns were the minority. So you realize that in Iran, they didn't fit either of those two criterion. And then I said, here's the biggest issue of all. If you're going to have a successful regime change in a country, you can't just have something that you all galvanize around and say, we don't want this. You have to have, we want this. And they have never had a want to go to. In Iran, they still don't have a want to go to, which is why regime change was impossible and why I stated it emphatically that it was impossible. And what you have just said is part of the problem. It was exceedingly easy, although life-threatening, to write the 4,200 pages of goddamn religion, excoriating Islam, proving Islam is a fraud, that Allah was not a god, and that Muhammad was not a prophet, and that it is a death cult and criminal enterprise. But you need to offer those people a place to go that is credible. And I found that it was even easier to discredit Christianity. Paul's was always irrational. He violated every rational fallacy. I'm old enough to have studied rhetoric and competed in debate and impromptu and extemporaneous speaking in high school, and took statistical analysis classes and probabilities. And so, it was exceedingly easy for me to prove that Paul was a liar and he's the one who conceived Christianity. And we've come now to bury it 1,000 different ways. But to do that, to say Jesus never existed is one thing. It's true. But to say that he was a crude counterfeit conceived by Satan for the purpose of deflecting your attention away from the actual Son of God and Messiah, who is the chosen one and our Savior, Dowd, that's now you got to go to.
Yeah, it wasn't an oopsie either. It wasn't a Scrivener's error, as they say, that, it was Jesus, Osha. No, this was planned, attacked. This was absolutely satanic.
Paul admits that he was demon-possessed at the conclusion of his second letter to Corinth. And he deliberately conceived, but I, Paul, say, to negate the Torah and to impose his gospel. In fact, the term gospel, which is euangelion, is Paul's invention. Mm-hmm. And the Gospels, as they are called now, were written by, the first two were written by Paul's pals, and the other two weren't written until about 95 CE, and therefore they're not even remotely credible as testimony. And the first two were written by non-eyewitnesses, non-Yehudim, just fellows that were part of Paul's posse. And after Paul wrote his 14 letters, never once quoted his imaginary friend Jesus. They were
fill in the blanks.
Encouraged to write the story of so-called Jesus based upon Paul's creation of him, and that's how the religion was conceived. And it's so obvious what's true that it's stunning to me that there are 2.5 billion people, and they'll fight to the death to claim otherwise. But look what it's taking them to. The most vocal Christians in America are MAGA. And they're promoting a rapist and pedophile and mass murdering con man where 90% of what he has to say is untrue.
And those are his best traits.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, well, I don't know if you can have a worse trait than pedophilia, but he's actually incestuous too. So that's pretty bad. Yeah.
I just mean being Rahab Satan. It kind of takes the cake, being the adversary for sure.
Yeah, being Rahab is about as bad as it gets. Yes, he is Satan. Donald Trump is Satan. I'm not meaning that figuratively. I'm not trying to be Smotrich's character. I'm just telling you the fact. Donald Trump is Satan. There have been many demon-possessed men along life's way. Adolf Hitler was demon-possessed. Stalin was obviously demon-possessed, likely Mao. The Khans, Genghis and Kublai, Tamerlane was very likely demon-possessed, as was Hadrian, Nero, Caligula. Been a lot of people that are highly likely to be demon-possessed. Eusebius, who worked for Constantine, Akiba, Maimonides, a lot of candidates for demon possession out there in the world. But there's only one that is actually Satan incarnate. And that's Donald Trump. He is the one that the prophet spoke. He is Satan incarnate. And we were the first to identify him as such, and he has now identified himself and proven that he is that very thing. Interesting times.
Yes.
Shall we do a little news here? And,
let me.
Yeah, you okay talking about some news there, Shannon?
Yeah, I'll listen to you.
Okay, we'll do some. All right. Here's this first presentation, and we've got Shannon right over
I'm working
Kevin
on it.
here. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and talk about it while we get here. It's very rude of you, Shannon, to put your face right over the top of. It might be an improvement, but nevertheless, you're superimposed. There we are superimposed over the Kevin. That was very miraculous that you just did yourself there, Kevin. You almost ghostly what you did there.
Movie
All
magic.
Right, so,
movie magic.
Movie magic. Okay, so what we have here is a picture of the Milky Way galaxy. There's no such thing as a picture of the Milky Way galaxy. This is a artist rendition of the Milky Way galaxy and our position in it. We actually don't know much about the Milky Way galaxy. Isn't that surprising? It's our own home galaxy, and we don't know if it's 100 billion stars or 400 billion stars. Could you imagine that? Even our own galaxy, we have no idea how many stars there are in it.
Right.
You know why we don't know? There's so much obscuring phenomenon in it that, there's the idea when, God was saying that there are incubators for stars and that they include a lot of molecular water. It turns out he was right. And there's so much obscuring phenomenon that from our vantage point, we have no idea, not even to a factor of 4, how large the Milky Way galaxy is. But, they'd say somewhere between 100 and 400 billion stars. And that we're one of some 3, but of course, we're going to go to precision, 3.2 trillion planets, of course. Because we're able to count those, of course. I just love specificity and things that people don't know. And yet, the fact is that it appears that our galaxy is one of 2 trillion galaxies that we know of, and that we're one of maybe 100 billion or so stars in our galaxy, and one of some trillion, but I think that number is probably skewed to planets. But the point here is that if I tell you 1 billion, your mind cannot process it. Shannon's may be able to, but for the most part, our minds cannot process 1 billion. We don't know what 1 billion anything is. And when we talk about 1 trillion, like, the U.S. is 40 trillion in debt, we have no concept. It's not only we don't have a concept of what a trillion is. When I tell you there's a couple of trillion galaxies in the universe, it means nothing to us. I might as well have said, I'm going to have egg salad for lunch.
It's a placeholder. It is just more or much more, even out of our capacity to understand, than the previous number. Yeah.
Right. And what I want to explain about that is that our minds were not conceived to deal with such things. And so we can't process what millions are, much less billions or trillions. We just have no means of being able to process that. And that's in 3D. We're talking about multiple trillions of galaxies with multiples of hundreds of millions of stars and scores of planets in 3D. And now imagine the fact that when you go from 3D to 4D, it's an infinite increase. And from 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and 6 to 7, we're increasing dimensionality infinitely, and all of those steps up. And we can't even process in our own 3D how big the universe is. Now, the reason I'm saying all of this is because of the numbskulls in religion. They want bodily resurrection, man. Oh yeah, my God, he was no bigger than a man. It's a puny God, but my God, he defeated death by becoming a man again.
Just like us, right?
Just like us, man. Yeah. He defeated death by becoming a man again. I mean, I guess it can't be too stupid because, well, the Egyptians tried that for a few thousand years before they finally gave up on it. Uh, while you have physical form, your realm is no bigger than what you can see with your little eyes and contemplate in your wee little brain. That is the extent of your world, and it doesn't go beyond that in scope or in time. That is your world. You are never leaving this planet, so long as you think that having a body is has value. A resurrected body, if that is part of your belief system, you are never leaving this planet. You are never going to be extended in time, because the only way that you're going to be able to perceive and function in a dimension beyond 3D and exist and thrive in 4 dimensions throughout time, 5, 6, and into Shamaim, 7 dimensions, is you need to shed this body and to have your mind stimulated by and encapsulated within light energy. And until that happens, you're stuck right here to dust to dust. That's why that Leia song, Dust to Fire, was such an interesting title, is you're going from matter to energy, from useless matter to energy. And that's one of the most important lessons that I can share with people, is that the religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are all based on bodily resurrection, as was the Egyptian religion. That's why they have all the mummies. And it has never occurred, and it can never occur. Do you know that in over a year's course of time, your body replaces virtually every cell in it? So you're to say that you want bodily resurrection of which body? The one today, the one yesterday, the one when you were 20 years old, the one that you'll be in tomorrow? I mean, which body? And do you realize that the moment you die, your body not only disintegrates, it of other bodies? We had a shock to the system there. But you become parts of other bodies. So is your body going to be prioritized over the parts of you that were parts of other people's bodies? You're gonna have a war over, no, that was my arm, you're taking my arm, I want my arm back. I mean, what are you thinking here? Your body is going to be part of a worm. You want the worm to be part of worms? I mean, what is it? You want the cockroaches to grow out of it?
There's a children's song about it, isn't it? Humpty Dumpty. That I mean, they have to go literally run around and pick up all the pieces. It's quite a mess. So anyway, we lost Shannon there briefly. It's we're having a wee bit of technical glitches, but he's back. He's back aboard. Maybe you can. There we go. You brought him back in. So I just want to share that with you. There's one other thought that I want to share as part of this too. Is that there is no reason for there to be this one little planet that's conducive to life, sheltered from the harm of the universe. And that's really what something is amazing. The cosmos is chaotic and it's not conducive to life. There's nothing else in this universe that is conducive to life. And we have this sheltered little environment. God created Eden on it, and he's going to take us back to Eden. But when he takes us back to Eden, the earth is Eden. And it's a sheltered environment conducive to life. And you realize that first, it's enormous. And one of the reasons the earth is pretty enormous, particularly for the number of people that are going to be part of that mortal remnant in the covenant, is because God does not want us close together. You know why God doesn't want us close together, Shannon?
Because he wants us to stay individual.
No, because he realizes that while you, as an individual man, and even with a very small group of family, can be good, you have the potential to be good. When there is a bunch of you, you lose it. All large groups of men and women are bad, without exception. So if we group together in large groups, we become like the Nephilim. We become universally bad. It's the story of human civilization. So the Eden is going to be expanded with the number of participants to the entire earth, so that we're not clustered on top of each other, because that is the best chance we have of each individual having the potential to be good. So it's an interesting thought in that regard. But the reason the universe is so large, I didn't know that, huh? Yeah.
No, that whole line of thinking is fascinating because, granted, there's the 1,000 of the mortal remnant. Okay, that
1,400
for those
based on the gold
yeah.
and refined from Ora-4, we would count 1,400.
Yeah, but there's going to be Dowd as Elyon here for leadership as he would want to be, and he's going to have the covenant family that here, and even with that leadership and that there is nothing else. This is the only way. There still remains that possibility for those others, of course, to group together and be bad. I mean, I get the whole,
not just a possibility, a certainty.
Yeah,
that they will.
Yeah,
it's an absolute certainty. We as humans do not do well. We just do not do well, and together we do terribly. And so the best chance for us is to be dissimulated. And when God was talking about in Yirmiyah 31, and he was saying, neighbor's not going to teach neighbor anymore. Why? Because you're not going to have really close neighbors. Neighbor's not going to teach neighbor anymore. And part of that is also because man teaches other men rotten. And there are so few quality individuals that God says, I can trust. This person is right about me. That is so rare that rather than neighbors treating nature, rather than us having neighbors, the world's going to go to yada yada. Yada.com will be the home for Yahweh's name. Will be the Yahweh's library. It's going to be the repository of these programs, and it is how we are going to communicate. Will we as covenant family do have a Shannon show? Will Shannon come to visit, and will we visit with Shannon and all have places that we enjoy this earth? Absolutely, in a tangible way. But for the most part, people are going to be spread out because that gives them the greatest opportunity to develop a personal relationship with Yahweh. There was a picture on a recent post on yada.com, and a person was talking about how they ate Passover alone. And somebody was very smart and says, can't be any more intimate than that, can you?
Yeah. That's how we all have. I have. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of my most talkative, fun, thoughtful, cheerful Passovers was when it was just you and I and Yahweh, having a Passover meal. My preference in my home is to have it just be Leigh and I just happy as I could be under those circumstances. I can't have that anymore because we have a job to do, and we have to bind together and work together to get this job done. But I realize that there is something really joyful, comfortable, energizing about being intimate with Yahweh and not being distracted by all other kinds of things. It is it's a really wonderful situation. So we are going to be spread out. And then when there becomes many of us after 1,000 years of working with people in a garden-like setting, and we're teaching them, and we're going to have Shannon going around making sure everybody invites them into his home, as opposed to we'll find out really quickly of those that don't belong. They want to invite Shannon into their home. But once we do that, we'll have weeded out those who don't belong, and we will have cultivated those who do. And look what we're going to have to explore.
Yeah.
We can't
That's just one of them.
Even the nearest star, which would be a death trap because it's a red dwarf. But we can't even visit the next solar system until we shed these physical bodies. It's impossible. The fastest we can go, it takes 70,000 years to get there. So no, it's to make it across our galaxy, even to find out what's on the other side, and then make it to the next galaxy. The distances are too great. And the only way to do it is to become akin to a photon of light, where the distance doesn't matter because time doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. It's exciting to think about, for sure. I mean, it's having the earth to yourself, and your covenant family is one thing. That sounds nice. Okay.
But still a job. We have people we're administering, and food to produce, and people to teach, and it's a lot going on still. So it's not going to be like it's not going to be like being on a deserted island by yourself.
Well, I'm not a city mouse, so I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Personally.
Yes.
But the fact that we can have the entire universe to explore is just mind-boggling on its own.
Yeah.
I mean,
you want to get away with some friends? Yeah, go and visit another star.
Mm-hmm.
And see what's around it. Absolutely. And Leah likes these old time movies. The ones that are shot in black and white, and they have the famous movie stars, and they're very formal. Everybody's wearing a suit, and they get in their car, they drive on their asphalt roads. There's not a tree in sight. There's tall buildings everywhere, and they go into some restaurant that's all noisy and everything, and they have a meal, and that's their life. Then they go back to their apartment where there's all you can see out the window is another building, and she just loves those movies. And I just said, oh my God, take my eyes out. I would hate that life. Living in a big city, oh no thank you, not ever. I like the long view. I want to look out my window here, and my view is limited by the Earth's curvature.
Horizon, right?
Yeah, the horizon. that worked for me. And the next island over here is 40 miles away. Okay, that works. Although I have a little close one here that we can go to the beach, but two of them that are just right, almost in reaching distance. But then after that, the next one's 40 miles away. That's I kind of like that.
I've traveled through many big cities.
Yes.
And many times I say, why would anyone want to live like this? Of course, I'm on top of the mountain in the middle of nowhere, and going through these big cities, gridlock traffic, I'm like, why would you want to live like this?
First years of growing up, we were fairly urban in the sense that we lived in I grew up in a bedroom community just outside of Los Angeles, and then I went to university at the University of Southern California, which is right downtown Los Angeles, and then started a business where I opened an office and showroom literally right downtown. I couldn't live down there, so I had a home on the beach, but I had to endure the hour drive no matter what time I picked to go in, and so 2 hours of my day was always consumed by that stupid drive. And it's just not a life. I would never ever do it again. We had the wedding of our youngest son, and so we went back to Southern California, which is where I had grown up. And I said, well, I'll take Leah through USC and the campus, and UCLA, which was our rival, and the show, actually the home that I grew up in, and we'll go through all of those places, and we'll go through downtown LA. And oh God, the only thing I liked about it is knowing that I will never be there again.
Yeah.
And that what we have is so much better.
Yes.
I always liken that to that phenomenon. I don't know if you've ever, I can so remember so vividly being in high school and going back to my grade school building, and everything just seems so much smaller and constraining. You leave it and you remember it being this vastness as a child, that it was just, this was your world, and it was so vast. And then you leave that, you go to a bigger building, more people in high school, and you come back that first time, and it's just like, wow, it just feels so small, because your world's expanded. This Earth thing's probably going to feel a little bit the same way.
Yeah, I think it probably will, but it's still, if you look at our relative scale versus the size of the planet and how much space that we will have and places that we can be, I think that we'll manage to for it to be quite nice. I'm my favorite, and as some of the people that are really close to me know that I like things that move. I like being in motion. So I've always enjoyed being the pilot of my own aircraft and being the captain of my own boats. And we came here on a boat. I spent a lot of time on a boat, by the way. You might know that fellow Noach. So I have some history with boats. And our boat that we came here had 5 staterooms, had a pretty comfortable boat, 82 feet long. I restored it myself, and it was a fun several years to live on that boat. Leigh and I, right after I got it restored, lived on it, and it was a marvelous experience. But yeah, and while for 2 people and a dog, an 82-foot boat is pretty good size, pretty comfortable, and we could have friends and go places on it, and that was always comfortable. But if I were to go back to it now, I would say it's a little confining. A little confining, and you'd and so my idea of ideal in this where we're going is we actually inherit the wealth of our enemies, and fortunately for me, I made a lot of them. And so they have a lot of toys out there that, it'd be, why destroy the toy? There's nothing wrong with the toy. And so God says you inherit it. So, if you're going to, telecommute, do vlogs and write books and share them and develop a website and go visit people from here, why not have a boat? And since there's a bunch of them that are pretty good size and have lots of toys, why take the little one when you can have the big one? And
right,
and when there's a big one for everybody, why not? And boats aren't going to be for everybody. Some people say, well, I'll take the house on the hill. Okay, that's fine. But that's something to look forward to. This fellow physicist, you've probably seen a bunch of times. He's famous because of his white long hair, and he talks a good game. But there are people who are, I'm certain now, in it for only one reason: likes and giggles. And
yes.
Yeah, he has the numbskull ideas of all numbskull ideas because numbskull ideas appeal to people, and so dark matter really isn't matter at all. No, it's gravity leaking from a parallel dimension. Now, one of the things that's interesting, Einstein actually proved that gravity isn't a force; it's an effect, and so you can't have an effect that's leaking, and if you want to talk about dimensionality, just be bold and say, the attractive nature of what we call dark matter is the 5th dimension. Say that. That's pretty obvious when you study Yahweh's testimony. You know that Yahweh is into both attraction and repulsion. There's a lot of stuff that's set apart, far more stuff apart than drawn together, and so. Dark energy is called dark energy because we know energy repels. And dark matter is called dark matter because we know that matter has the tendency to attract. So, I think we have an attractive and a repulsive dimension. And repulsive doesn't mean bad. It just means, like we do on the Shabbat around here. You guys, I love having you here. We couldn't function without you. The best family members a fellow could ever have, but it's the weekend and we're going to do our thing, and thank you very much. It's right. And by the way, that's what Yahweh is. He's very much that way.
Yeah.
So the happiest day for Yahweh is the day that he eliminates all the antagonists, and the antagonists just happen to be 99.99999% of humanity.
Yeah.
He's happy to have them gone. It's just been irritating for way too long. So anyway,
you can't be more repulsive, so to speak, than that, can you? To push things and far enough from you that they no longer exist, right?
That pretty much does it. He's really good at it, when he gets a mind that he's going to do something, you can pretty much be sure that it happens. Oh boy, yeah. First of all, these buffoons that wear the military, if you're wearing a military uniform and you're in your 50s, going on 60 years old, yeah, come on, it just grow up. You played boys and their toys way too long. But here he is. He's in front of the Senate. And he says, United States, we don't target civilians. And then the next breath you say, the weapons that we have, our smart bombs and our smart missiles and all of that, we can program to land, on the head of a needle. Nobody does it better than we do. We have the best intelligence, the best technology. And then why are 90% of the casualties in Iran civilians?
Yeah.
Why did the first day of that war, do you take out 250 little girls? So one of two things is true there, pal. Either you really do target civilians, or you're running a sloppy show and that you're lying about the quality of your technology. And if your technology isn't reliable and it's deadly, then you ought not be using it. Now, wouldn't that be the normal response to all of that, or is that just way too rational and too moral?
It's too rational for CENTCOM for sure. CENTCOM doesn't get it. Yeah.
The oxymoron military intelligence.
Exactly. They're all going to be out of a job very soon anyway. They don't realize it yet. I think CENTCOM is going to be shut down. There's no bases in Iraq. They're just going to crash back to Israel. But
yeah, who knows if they're going to crash back to Israel? I think Israel is going to be abandoned. It's just really the question is, when is Israel abandoned, and what kind of birth pangs do we go on to get to that position? But Israel will definitely be abandoned, and Israel has been suicidal regarding this Iranian war. I mean, they know, it's even in the Jerusalem Post. Maybe we'll see a post on it here before long, but they know that if they reignite the war, and they're talking about it, that's what they want to do. They have isolated Netanyahu again. He's not going to his trial anymore. He only gets time off from his trial where Israel's at war. So guess what? Israel's at war a lot. And they know that they'll be getting thousands of missiles, killing Israelis and destroying parts of Israel, and that bad things will happen. And they know that the Gulf Arab countries are going to be obliterated, and they're going to weaken their relationship with the rest of the world if they go to war with Iran again. And they can't name any benefit of going to war with Iran again, but yet they're going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, J.D. Vance was very clear yesterday in his press conference that, we're doing our best for talks and we're, getting both sides together and everything. But he was very clear that they are definitely going to do whatever it takes to open the Strait of Hormuz, so they say. That it's not even uranium anymore. It's open the strait.
Let's see. One of the things that I think I got this job with Yahweh for a number of reasons, but one, of course, was that I was the only guy on the line. If you're God's going to take the first person in line and you happen to be the only person in line, chances are you're going to luck out and get the job. So that was part of it. But the other part of it is that I'm reasonably rational. And likes it when you're reasonably rational. He likes evidence and reason. Big fan of logic. If the Strait of Hormuz, let me just ask you a couple of questions here. Was the Strait of Hormuz open or closed before America's and Israel's war on Iran?
Oh, it was open for business.
Okay. And then once Israel and America went to war against Iran, was the Strait of Hormuz open or closed?
It was open mostly. I mean, once
we started the war,
Iran, well, Iran didn't. Well, certain traffic could get through for,
Well, yeah,
if Iran, but
a ship's taking oil from Iran to China could get through. Certain ships, yeah.
It wasn't open for
if you were buying oil from Iran and taking it to China, you could get through. Anybody else getting through?
Nobody else was getting through. No. Closed for business.
Occasionally let a ship go to India if it was carrying Iranian oil, but yeah, nobody else getting through. And if the Russians were bringing in supplies, which they don't typically bring in supplies through the Strait of Hormuz, they bring them through the Caspian Sea. But nevertheless, they were able to get through. Nothing else. So what is it that caused the Strait of Hormuz to be closed?
Attacking Iran. I mean, that's the straight line here.
If you wanted to open the Strait of Hormuz, and it was open before we attacked Iran, and it was closed after we attacked Iran, would the smart path to open it being to attack Iran again?
No, that doesn't fit rational.
No, and because you have destroyed Iran, and you've caused trillions of dollars worth of damage in Iran. What do you think the possibility is that Iran's going we'll just let bygones be bygones. We'll open up the Strait of Hormuz and you can bomb us any old time you want.
No. And they're going to charge tolls because they have some schools to fix. So
yes, they do. And they are going to charge tolls. That's just the way it's going to be. And if America didn't like it, too damn bad. That is your reality. You made this mess. You made that bed. You now get to sleep in it. And do you think there's going to be an open arm? Oh, come on back. The Kuwaitis, the United Arab Emirates, the Qataris, the Saudi Arabians are going to say, those bases that were destroyed because you abandoned them and started this war that we asked you not to start, you just come on back and we'll let bygones be bygones. You think that's going to happen?
No. The relationship with the oil fiefdoms is over for the United States.
It is. And without the petrodollar, what chance does the United States have to fund any of this?
Oh, none. They don't pay the debt without the petrodollar. They don't pay the interest on the debt without the petrodollar.
That is correct. All right, sir. What else do you have down there in a post? We ought to do, Shannon, which would be fair, is to allow said guest host to be able to post anything they wanted to post so that they get to say, oh, yeah, the reason I posted this one.
Yeah, excellent idea.
I think that would be fair. I
think Bankston was probably our best option for that. He's the one that hits the news, and so we'll do a couple Bankston's posts next week, all right?
Okay, I think that's fair. All right, this is what statesmanship looked like for a better part of 200 years. Prior to the Donald and the art of the steel. Mm-hmm. You see what they're holding there?
Contracts.
Yeah, contracts.
Treaties,
yeah.
I guess.
Those
contracts.
Are treaties. Those are negotiated agreements. Putin arrived in China, yesterday? Well, it was a really nice ceremony. I don't know if you saw it. It's a beautiful airplane. Love that airplane. They flew into China. It's a gorgeous airplane. And he arrived, and there were lots of cheering fans. It was a big spectacle. It was really a nice welcome for Putin at the airport yesterday. And this is today, and maybe even later yesterday. And what are they holding?
Yeah, they're agreements. Hey, we agree to this. Each of them had their own car.
That from the time that he arrived to the time that this picture was taken, that the two of them sit down. Okay, who's typing and who's got the pencil and who's dictating the terms here?
No. The ceremony is for the special pins and signing. Everything is already locked down.
And so before the trip, they had negotiated what they were going to sign. So they had a guarantee they were going to have a successful visit, and they're signing deals here of, you're going to send us lots of oil. We need lots of oil. And you're going to send us drone technology and all sorts of good stuff. And we're going to send you money. That's how this is going to work. We're going to run coverage for you and the world, Russia, and you have our back. So we'll be best of friends. That's what the agreement basically says in layman's terms.
Yeah.
So do you think that Z told the Donald, I think that Putin's going to regret invading Ukraine, and we'll side with you on the criminal court against my buddy here against Putin. Do you think that actually took place?
No, there's no way. There's no
So
way.
the Financial Times just flat out lied, didn't they?
They did.
They did. Yes, but this is the way it's supposed to work. You know, if I'm not a diplomat, I'm not a politician, but if I were to be a diplomat or a politician, this is the way that the game is played. And you don't go and meet with people until the heads of state, until the team representing both have come to an agreement on what you're going to achieve together, so that your meeting is guaranteed to be a success, and you're not stumbling around in the dark pretending to like one another when you can't stand one.
The big deals in business are done the same way, right? I mean, if you guys, the lawyers have got it all knocked out, and you guys show up and sign, and closing.
Was there one of these with the Trump visit?
I haven't seen one picture of him with a nice contract in his hand.
An agreement. And but by the way, before Trump it's kind of an interesting sandwich. You had Iran and Russia as the Trump sandwich.
Yes.
Right. Days before him was Iran. Days after him is Putin. That is the Trump sandwich there, baby. And it's called containment. So they did the same thing with Iran, didn't they? Here we are. We had an agreement. Yeah, he is telling the United States, we're and you are the guy in the
right. Yeah.
You know that all those high-priced talent that Donald had to have on the airplane because he needs a following. You know, he loves psychopaths. So he had Zuckerberg, and he had Bezos, and he had Musk, and Ellison. You know, his whole tech posse that he had with him. Do you know how Z responded to them?
I didn't see any.
No, Zippo. He wouldn't even shake their hands. He wouldn't meet with them. There was no reception. There was nothing. They
are completely irrelevant to China.
Back,
yeah,
they are irrelevant. He wouldn't even meet with them.
Wow.
That's worse than saying I won't have you in my home. We'll go and meet at a restaurant, isn't it, Shannon? Yeah. You fly halfway around the world, and the guy that you were promised that you're gonna cut big deals with, he's my best buddy, man. I'll introduce you to my best buddy. And the best buddy says, "No, I don't want any part of you. No, I'm sorry, no interest. Goodbye. Have a nice trip on the way out. Oh, bye. We have some rose seeds. We'll give you some rose seeds. How about that?"
Right. I think it was Dew or maybe Disa that posted something about looking up the rose seeds. About was that a dig to Donald? You know, some sort of Chinese fable or something about give rose seeds to a fool or something.
He tore up the rose garden to put in concrete to
his ballroom.
Mar-a-Lago, yeah. Well, not his ballroom, but he actually tore up the rose garden.
Right. So you're going to need new seeds. That's good too. But there was a brand that was sold specifically to hotels of toilet paper called Roses. That was the only thing I could think of with him.
I don't know. You know, they threw away all the gifts. They wouldn't take them with them. They were so petrified of the
buying or something,
little microphones on them or something. They're going to be drone flowers or spy flowers. They threw it all away.
Wow.
Didn't take it with them. See, Eric, this is, I think, from the Jerusalem Post. And so the Jerusalem Post is saying, Israel could face hundreds of missiles daily if the war reignites. And they're saying, that the Gulf allies, they could all suffer devastating blows. This could be a really bad thing. And, there's buildings that are all blown up in Israel. So, first of all, why would you say if or could as opposed to will?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And why would you then? What is the motivation for going back? What is the motivation? Because Israel is going to go back and start bombing Iran again. What is the motivation? What possible thing could they achieve?
Yeah. What is the upside for Israel?
So there's zero chance of regime change. Throw that out. Okay. So now what are they going to achieve?
Well, they're not getting the uranium. They're not going to keep them from having a bomb.
Captain Uranium's not going anywhere. So now what are they going to achieve?
We're not going to get a favorable move on the Strait of Hormuz as far as free shipping through there.
Nope. So now what are you going to achieve?
Right.
You got nothing. I mean, there is nothing. You're not going to, we have a secret base in Iraq, so we're going to go in there with troops and we're going to go take that Captain Uranium from those dastardly Iranians. Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, the Americans tried. Got a bunch of planes that are all carcasses in the middle of the desert. Didn't work out well for them, did it?
No, I find it interesting that they say Gulf allies. Israel, do you have any allies in the Gulf? Honestly, yeah.
Well, they claim that the United Arab Emirates, because the United Arab Emirates is not one of these Arab fiefdoms that can defend themselves. So they took a battery of Iron Dome missiles and interceptors from Israel because the United States wouldn't defend them. And so they did that, not recognizing that you do that and your own people will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the missiles aren't the least of your problem if you're now partnering with Israel against an Islamic country.
That was,
you don't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed to realize that is not going to work for you. And that's what the United Arab Emirates has done.
Well, my point was being that Israel still thinks that they can be allies with any Muslim Islamic country, that they can work together on anything. How brain dead do you have to be, to even pretend that such a thing is possible? Vocalize.
Why not read the 5 volumes of goddamn religion? Find out what you're up against, how long Muslims have been encouraged to perpetrate genocide and apartheid on Jews, and you figure out how in the world, in a world that has Islam and that is devoted to Islam, that you're going to receive a favorable agreement from them.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Zippo. What else do you have there, Mr. Kevin? Oh, my boy.
He outsmarted Trump, huh?
Sometimes you have to be really careful what you post. I'm always really careful because, I don't want to lose my credibility because I'm serving you. And the last thing, the thing that you've got is your credibility. So you want to be really careful. It's like when I called Trump the equivalent of the Antichrist, that he is the devil incarnate. Before you post that, you want to be really careful that you're right. So here's the man Massie that they claim. Well, he taught the Donald a lesson, man. He stood up to him. Do you look at the vote count in? It was Tennessee, where they are, or whatever state it is, Kentucky. I've forgotten, but he's a congressman. He was running for re-election. Mm-hmm. He's an anti-Semite, so I don't really care much for him. But he condemned Trump. He spoke. He said that Trump is a disaster, which of course is true. And then Trump decided that Massie would be one of those that he would devour. Republican that he would devour, and so he started attacking Massie, who had a huge lead in the primary in the district that he has been the congressman for many years. He got clobbered.
Wow.
I mean, it's like 2-1. I mean, he's the incumbent, an incumbent congressman in a district that is hugely in favor of your party. And the number of times that they're voted out is really rare. And he didn't just lose, he got clobbered. I mean, he was up 3-1 and he lost 3-1. Now,
and he had
what does that
yeah,
say?
he had all the Republican congressmen out stumping for him. I know Rand went, Marjorie Greene, went to go out and stump for him and say, yeah, this is our guy. And
yeah, first of all, I would never endorse this guy. He is a raging anti-Semite. However, Trump absolutely, unequivocally controls the Republican Party. If you are part of that Republican Party, you're slime. Scum, slime, owned and controlled by the dumpster. Now, he does not have, at this point, Trump does not have any influence on independents. He has no influence on Democrats, which means if there were an election, he'd get creamed. But amongst the 40% of Americans that are identify as Republicans, he owns you.
Mm-hmm.
There is no alternative to him. That's the reason why in Congress they don't stand up to him. They know that to oppose Trump is political suicide.
Yeah.
As a Republican.
Mentioning that J.D. Vance presser I saw yesterday, he literally, well, not literally, but ran from the question of with you being going to be the next president, or you going to be the next nomination, and it was even just a hint. It was a leader, and before that reporter got into her real question, and he shut that. I'm just doing my job right now for the American people. I'm serving as this, vice president. There's not going to be any running of any sort for anything, I mean, it was scary.
Trump is not giving up that the White House. So no, if he were to say, yes, I'm going to be the candidate and I want to earn the people's trust, and that would be a great honor, then he's dumped by Trump.
Yep.
And by the way, for him to be lying as he did in his speech and say that we're working very hard on getting a deal, BS. They went in completely unprepared, and they had no authority when they went there. They went up against the Iranians, who brought in hundreds of specialists, had all of the charts and documents, everything to negotiate a fair and reasonable agreement. And they were up against three absolute, complete nincompoops who had no preparation and no authority. It was a complete waste. And at this point, there is no negotiation. So for him to say we're negotiating, no, there is no negotiation.
Yeah, no, they just thought they could show up and dictate terms. There was no negotiation even thought of anyway. They just thought they could show up and dictate terms to Iran. Of course,
what's amazing is that 2 days prior to that, Trump says we've agreed to the Iranian 10-point plan.
Yeah, we did a show on.
And the Iranian 10-point plan is the Iranians control the Strait of Hormuz. There is huge reparations. America moves out of all of its military bases in the Middle East, and it goes on and on. The 10-point plan is total surrender by the United States, and he agreed to it. And he said, obviously he doesn't read.
Yes.
I'd seen it. I'd read it. You and I did a show on it. Yeah, this is an interesting thing. Ebola is bad. I mean, Ebola, you bleed out through your eyes, through your nose, through your mouth, through your ears. I mean, every orifice is blood. It is a virus that is exceedingly contagious and very deadly. And we've had outbreaks in Africa over the years, but this one has already, 600 people
suspected cases,
infected just in this particular outbreak. 600 people. That's a scary thing because, as I say, Ebola is not like COVID-19. It's not death to 1 in 1,000. You get Ebola, and every orifice of your body is going to be squirting blood, and there's essentially nothing they can do for you. It's terrible.
Yeah, the only upside is that it kills fast. I mean, it's still spread. It can be spread but through the blood contact and everything. But it kills fast. It's not something that you can have Ebola for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and be asymptomatic and still be spreading it. It's very, as far as I know, a very short period of time before you start to have symptoms that you've contracted.
So that's what they were trying to do when they modified the targeting and triggering aspects of what became called COVID-19. What they did is they blended Ebola, HIV, and SARS, those three viruses, as they were passed through rats. They blended them together and then came up with a trigger that was especially effective at attaching itself to a human host. And the reason it spread so fast is that it did not want to kill the host. A virus, to be an effective virus, cannot kill the host quickly. Otherwise, it can't pass itself on, because viruses cannot live apart from the human host or the animal host. So it requires the host to live. If the host dies, then it defeats the purpose. That's why as SARS continued to mutate, it became less and less lethal. Oh, yeah. So here, a bunch of Muslims got together and they decided that they would go off and attack a bunch of Jewish targets in the United States. But so is that Islamophobia? When a bunch of Muslims decide we're going to be terrorists and burn and synagogues and attack Jewish schools is what is that? What do we call that when that happens?
Good Muslims.
Good Muslims is what that. Yeah. And I'm really disgusted because of the irresponsibility of the news media pursuant to what happened in San Diego. Well, I completely disagree with people, young people that take a nihilistic viewpoint towards life, which is what they did, and where they turn to violence as opposed to words, which is what they did, and act irrationally and immorally, which is what they did. The fact of the matter is the attack on the mosque in San Diego, Carlsbad actually, had nothing to do with Islam. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There is no such thing as Islamophobia, and it had nothing to do with Islam. But this has all to do with Islam, and they won't hold Islam accountable.
No. Well, it's the victim status that the Marxists like to use. That is their one and only tactic: is the poor oppressed masses, and you must be a horrible person and scared Islamophobe, right? If you don't want to have these religion of peacers in your neighborhood. Or
what's amazing,
you.
Of course, is that Islam is lethal. It's been lethal for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
If you are known to oppose Islam, what do Muslims do to you?
Well, they kill you.
They kill you. So with the people who speak about Islam, would they be afraid of Islam or unafraid of Islam?
It's smartly, you should fear it and do whatever you can to keep it away from you. Yes.
But if you have the courage to oppose it, then you are the antithesis of Islamophobe, are you?
Absolutely.
But for example, I oppose the religion vocally, and I prove that it's rotten to the core and that it's a terrorist manifesto because I have no fear of it.
Right. By definition, you cannot be an Islamophobe if you're standing up to Islam. Yes.
Correct. Stupid. All right. What do we have next? Feel free to chime in there, Shannon. It's open mic hour here. My guess is you're not driving an electric car.
No,
that's it's not. That just doesn't seem like it's going to be Shannon's thing. By the way, I don't have one either. Well, I do have an electric fancy golf cart. It's called a Moke. For those who want to see what a Moke is, you can go online. MOKE. It's the old vehicle that was used in a lot of the James Bond movies. It's kind of a beach buggy of sorts, and it happens to be electric. Here is a younger Elon Musk. Boy, he has aged poorly. I'll tell you that for sure. And he is laughing at BYD. He is just saying, "Oh yeah, they're nothing. I wouldn't even be the least bit concerned about them." Well, guess what? BYD is, which is called Build Your Dreams, not only hugely larger in sales and revenue than Tesla, and growing where Tesla is losing market share, but BYD is vertically integrated. They make it all. They even make the chips, the display screens. They make their own tires. They do everything. It is a completely vertical integrated manufacturing company. They actually own and build ships to deliver their cars. And if you look at it, where the BYD vehicles are coming, it's a BYD ship specifically designed for it. They are 100% turnkey, vertically integrated, and they make a much better product, much better styled, with much better features at a fraction of the cost. I mean, right now, one of the big things about EVs is that people that, like me, that don't want to own an EV, don't like the idea that if you only have about 400-mile range on most of these things, and at the end of the 400 miles, that means you really have a 200-mile range because you got to come back home to charge it, because who wants to find a place to charge it and have to wait around an hour for your car to charge? Go to a filling station, it takes 3 minutes to and you're gone. But you can't do that with an EV. Well, guess what? BYD figured that out. From 10% to 90%, it's something like 6 or 7 minutes.
Wow.
So they've made it essentially the same time as going to the gas station.
Yeah.
And you go in the mini mart, I'm not even sure you're out with your ice cream cone in that period of time, or your hot dog.
Yeah. I'm not an electric car fan. This vertical integration you're talking about with BYD seemed like a pipe dream. I don't know that any other company in the world has, from base materials to product out the door, not just product out the door, but delivery, has their complete own network doing that. You know, yeah. I can't.
Well,
it's a wonderful idea. It makes sense.
Examples in terms of technology. Lots of people rave about their iPhones, and they say, "Look how much prettier my screen is, and the vibrant colors I have in my my iPhone." The screen on every iPhone, it's made by Samsung.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, almost nobody is vertically integrated anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
The fact that he is, I mean, if you look at the aerial views of their primary manufacturing facility in China, it's a damn city. It's larger than the city of San Francisco. And it's a campus where the people that do work at it have housing there. There's parks there. And, you know, most of the factories are dark because they're all robotic. He makes his own robots.
Yeah.
To assemble his cars. They actually take in raw metal and transform the raw metal into the forms of their car. In fact, they figured out ways to form the metal such that you don't have to have all the weight and the structure that was necessary in so many other cars. So, yeah, it's I mean, I don't even know how one would do that. And of course, in America, it's impossible to do it because we just don't have the infrastructure. And one of the things that you have to have is great civil infrastructure to do this. You have to have rail that wherever your factory is to get your product to the ocean, and then outstanding ports, and then fleets of ships and all that sort of thing. China has all of that. America has none of it.
Yeah.
We don't even make cardboard well. That's why when, you know, you get a bunch of stuff from China, we actually send the cardboard back to them. I don't know if you know that, but those containers that are going back are filled with cardboard.
Very nice.
Very nice.
We don't even make it's
we don't
the
make
mind.
cardboard worth a damn. It was one of the biggest challenges, by the way, when I started making products, and you know, years ago as a manufacturer, and I had plants around the world, including the United States. And the biggest challenge many of the challenges, but one of the challenges in the United States was cardboard. You couldn't get boxes at a price that you could afford. I could buy finished products in a box. There was a better box from Taiwan and China than I could just buy the cardboard in the United States.
Wow.
Now, here's a thing. This is all over Facebook. The Islamic Center of San Diego. Today, we mourn the loss of 3 pillars of our community. I'm sorry they're dead. I mean, I shouldn't be mocking.
Sure.
They're dead. I'm sorry they're dead.
I thought they celebrated that. You know,
well, they do if they're martyrs, and I guess they'll claim martyrdom. But the fact of the matter is, you know, it's too bad that those 3 people are dead. But you know what I do? I mourn the loss of the 5,000 pillars of our community on 10/7 and 9/11. Yeah. It's 5,000 people, not 3,000 people. And the people that killed them weren't Muslims. They didn't even hate Muslims. It's just 2 children with guns. And the plot to kill 5,000 Americans was carried out by many, many Muslims and deliberate on behalf of the religion. I mean, it's no comparison between the 2. Go ahead, sir. I don't know. 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 I
It's I haven't heard anything about this, but they were children, but they don't say anything that would motive wise. They're
Oh no, they
calling it a
do.
hate
Oh no,
crime
no, no,
because
no, they do. Absolutely. What was their farewell letter and the material in the car? No, they know exactly what was there, and it's available. Mainstream media doesn't like to share it because they want to make it Islamophobia. No, these two kids, they're what 17, 18 years old. They're kids.
Mhm.
The leader of the two, the most vocal of the two, if you see pictures of him, he looks like a girl, and he's really effeminate. And they were nihilist. That's the new thing on online. You know, there's a bunch of they're gopers, which is the Nick Fuentes idiots. There's incels of involuntarily celibate because they can't talk to girls. There's gamers. There's a whole lot of groups online that all just check out of reality. These two were into what is called No Lives Matter.
Mm.
They were racists, so their judgments were based on skin color. I thought that theirs was superior, even though one of them had a Muslim first name and a Hispanic last name. But they nonetheless, they thought that their race was superior, and that their vision of the world is without all other races, and that the only way to achieve their view of the world was to kill everybody. So they had there's not a single thing that they had against Islam. As a matter of fact, they had some swastika neo-Nazi things in their possession, and the Nazis partnered with Muslims. And the Holocaust is a partnership between the Nazis and Islam. So they had some symbols of the Nazis, but they didn't go after Jews.
No.
They were nihilists. So they were absolutely non-discriminatory on who they wanted to kill. This has literally nothing to do with Islam. They were absolutely homogenized and hate based strictly on racism, not religion, not politics, just on race. And I'll say it to everybody: if your view of the world and of another person is based on the tone of their skin, you've got nothing. If your understanding of the world is skin pigment deep, you ought to crawl back in a hole, because you got nothing to offer. And that's why I came to hate X and Facebook so much, because it's so based on racial hatred.
Yeah,
you were here. Anytime somebody even hints at racism, you'll see I do not take it well. I'll shut it right down, and I don't care who you're talking about. I realize that there are cultural differences. We live in an island where 85% of the population is black, and they're terrible travesty here. We have one of the highest murder rates. In fact, we have the highest murder rate in the world. And we have one of the lowest employment rates in the world. And there's a cultural problem here, and it has nothing to do with skin pigmentation, but it has all to do with culture, and there are negative cultural influences that don't teach the value of work, that don't teach the value of words, that don't teach the value of life, and they are very caustic. And now there's the same culture, but it's pervasive in Gen Z. Is why I'm so pleased that we have so many young people that are part of the covenant and that are forming a group to speak out. Because in Gen Z, there's a disproportional percentage of the people who are gamers, gropers, incels, social media, influenced or influencers, and they're been indoctrinated. They don't think. It's a mess out there, and it is the ticking time bomb of Western and European society, of these gamers without any social skills taking guns and going off and killing because they play video games where you get to reboot. And they're in a community where, a high game score is how many people you killed. Doesn't work like that in real life. And we just don't have enough people that are moral and thoughtful anymore. And so you're going to see more and more of this.
The Napesh knows no ethnicity. We've spoken to that before, that your soul carries no ethnicity.
That is correct. Israel, for those who are Jewish, is a naming convention. It is. It's a naming convention because Abraham and Sarah were Babylonians, and their son was a Babylonian, and their son's wife was a Babylonian, and his sons were Babylonians, and his sons' wives were Babylonians, and the children of Israel were all Babylonians, and there wasn't a Yahud Jew until it was named as such by Leah. So Leah is the one who imposed the naming convention of Jew through Yahud, and it was Jacob that came up with the I'm not going to be Jacob anymore, which was rebellious and alternative. I want to be Yisrael, which is equally the alternative because it can mean to struggle with or to engage with God. But they are literally naming conventions. The same man went from being Jacob to Israel one day to the next, and based upon Leah's name, a child was named, a naming convention, Yahud. So it's not an ethnicity; it is a naming convention. Now that naming convention carries weight with Yahweh, although they have done their best to disengage from Yahweh. Do you ever think of it that way, Shannon, that being a Jew is actually a naming convention?
I had really never thought about that, no. But that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can trace it right back. We have Jacob, who named himself Israel, or you can claim that Yahweh named him Yisrael, whichever you want to do. It's really not clear. And so that's literally a change of a name. That's a naming convention. And he has sons, and they all have different names. And one of those sons is Yahud, and he was named that by his mother. That's a naming convention. It didn't change. Jacob's ethnicity did not change when he went from Babylonian one day to Israel the next.
Right.
And Yehud as his son and Leah's son, both Babylonians, and heritage, did not change just because of the name. And so it is a naming convention, however you want to follow it. And then you look at the most Yehud of all Yehuds. Who would be the ultimate Yehud of all Yehuds? Who would that be? Dowd. And rabbis would tell you that you get your Jewishness from your mother, don't you?
That's
who was his grandmother? Who was his grandmother?
Ruth.
She was from what place? Moab.
Yep.
So it's this the separation of Goyim and Israel. It's a cultural thing. It's not a ethnicity thing. And you don't get to be in God's good graces based upon your genes. So it's the nature of your soul, not your genes, that matter. Oh, yeah. So here, this is what I was saying, that the authorities described the writings found in the shooting suspect's vehicle in this press conference because nobody wants to talk about it because it's so much more fitting the agenda-driven dialogue to call it Islamophobia. But first of all, there is no Islamophobia. And second of all, they didn't say a thing about Islam. They could care less about Islam. The FBI did announce it yesterday that there is a nihilism that is very prominent in a growing culture of Gen Zers. And what it is a disregard for life, which they would say the difference from Black Lives Matter to No Lives Matter. That they want to reshape the world into their vision by killing almost everyone. So violent murder is their means to their version of the world, which is without people.
Well, that sounds a lot like Islam. They should get together, right? Because in the end, everybody is dead, right?
Everybody
in
is dead,
Islam.
you know. Allah and the 8th Surah was very clear. There are only two kinds of Muslims: those who have died killing for Allah and those who will die killing for Allah. That's pretty much genocide. Pretty much. Yeah. You know, by the way, it doesn't work. Bad idea. But they've been good at it for a long time. Oh, let's see. This is, San Diego police. There were, 140 kids. And one boy. And they just make everything about this. Those children are so lucky. Do you know the shooters were children?
Yeah.
Like 17 and 18 years old. They were children. Yeah. And the 18-year-old looked like a child. I mean, I kept on saying every picture, you would swear this was a girl. And so I was looking for some place to say, no, that's a boy. And they say it's actually a boy. But it's two just snotty-nosed boys that did this. And if so, you want to find the motive, terrible education system that indoctrinates.
Yeah.
No meaningful values. No functional Nasama conscience, no sense of right or wrong, an online world that is draped in artificial intelligence without morality, without ethics, without intelligence, where fake is made to look real. Online games which draw people in and create a false sense of reality. Social media that draws them out of society and to social media is the anti-Shannon. Really? Yeah. You're real. You go visit people, have a meal with them, shake their hands. And social media is you create a false version of yourself, and everybody you view as a voyeur other people's false versions of themselves while you're in an environment that's managed by a false reality and that promotes that which is false.
Kind of like video games. I would have friends say, you want to play golf on a video game? I says, no, let's go out and play it for real.
Right.
It's
right. The lucky thing for me, and that's because I'm, older than you guys, and you're right at the cusp of the time. It passed you by, I think, though, Shannon, but it still nipped Kevin there. Video games became exceedingly addictive, and particularly for young men when they were young men. They swallowed my two sons up, man. They'd prefer to play a video game than they would go out on a date with a pretty girl, and or toss a basketball or catch a football or play baseball. They would much prefer their video games, and they could isolate in that world, and they were comfortable in that world. That's a world I never knew. So I have fairly aggressive, addictive personality. I'd say, just think certain things you can't do. I can't smoke because I'd have a difficult time trying to get rid of the habit. Well, video games are addictive, and fortunate that I never got called into them. You didn't play very many either, my guess, did Shannon?
No, I've always thought it was a world of make-believe.
Yeah. And the real one's already hard enough to deal with. You need all of your oars in the water to deal with the real one. No reason to go off and play on the fake one. Did you have a favorite video game there, Kevin?
Many favorite video games. Oh yeah. I mean, I've played everything, really? From the different game systems. Yeah. Computer games. Right now I would say that, Skyrim is probably very popular and one of my favorite all-time games because it is a huge open world that you just lose yourself in, and you can do so many possibilities of anything you want. I mean, there's a whole culture of people that outside of the game builders itself do what they call modding, and they spend their life for free making video graphics and modifications to the game that you can download from them that input into the game. So, I mean, the world continues to grow and grow and grow, you know. But
you know
big Skyrim guy,
how you can tell just how plugged am I in the gaming world. You know, I've never even heard that title before. Never even heard of it. That's how out of touch I am with video games, and you know, that's okay. You know, that just. But I think it's also important that we have younger people that can talk to those who have grown up in that culture.
Right.
Well, and I'm very interested in cultures and how other people think. And so I will venture out and see things for myself, what people say about something. I spent a year on Helldivers 2 that has its own online culture of people in Helldivers 2. It's got its own language, everything to this video game. Just because I heard about it, I wanted to see what are these people doing here? What are they all about? You know? So as investigatively, you hop into the game, you get good, and you become accepted. And you know, I can talk their talk. Helldivers 2 was the one that the kid that killed Charlie Kirk, he was a part of that community, and so I could understand, you know, what he was writing on the gun and what he was talking about and things, because I had been there and done that, you know. And
that's a term that I had heard, but I heard that only because I was able to immediately look at the Charlie Kirk assassin and say the issue here has nothing to do with liberal or anything. He was just drawn into the artificial world, and you could say that he went to Halloween as a groper. So he was influenced by Nick Fuentes, who had a rivalry with Charlie Kirk. And he would refer to himself as an incel, which is an involuntary celibate, because he couldn't get along with girls. That's another Nick Fuentes kind of thing. And that he moved into the apartment with other gamers because his life revolved around playing video games. And I said, no, this is now a huge percentage of young men in particular in our society. And they're all equally amoral.
Mm-hmm.
They're disenfranchised, everything else. They're equally immoral. So the only thing I can tell you is if you don't like what he did, you're going to see a lot more of it. And
that's what people have a problem with, is they want to put this thing that happened in San Diego in a box. People like things tied up in little boxes, that this is why this happened. And they don't want to look back at themselves and say, folks, this is your children. These are children in your neighborhood. Your children are doing the exact same thing that these children did. Your children are one step away from finding a firearm and going and killing people.
Correct. That's correct.
Right.
They are. The fact is, they absolutely are. And, you know, with the Charlie Kirk thing, they wanted to blame it on Jews and put it in the anti-Semitic box. Then they wanted to blame it on liberals and put it in the Democrats box. And then they wanted to blame it on transgender and put it in the transgender box. But the fact is, he was influenced by the gropers and what is it? Hell something? What is it? Hell something?
Helldivers, yeah.
Helldivers,
yeah.
And that was his vocabulary. And when everything about him screamed that he was had lost himself in the artificial world of social media, gaming, and the internet, and could no longer relate to reality.
You know, the problem with gaming now, I was involved in a lot of games when I was young because I was into computers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's changed. All the games now are an alternate reality that they can't differentiate anymore. So it's not a game. It's their reality.
Yeah. I think part of that is because they are so good at creating avatars of people. So you can create, if you're a guy and you can't relate to girls, you can create a pretty girl that you can control.
Yeah, 100%.
When you look at Elon Musk, and he's never had a successful relationship with a woman. And all of a sudden, Gronk is drawing all these sexy women and undressing them. You say, well, that's predictable, wasn't it?
Yeah, and when you spend so much time in such a place, Perry's right. It becomes your reality, and that's the problem. I mean, the meme is they will tell each other, go outside and touch grass. You know, you've been in here too long. Literally go outside and touch grass and clear yourself from the game, you know, because it happens.
Social
and it
media
becomes your reality.
It's alternate reality.
Yep.
Video, computer games are an alternate reality. I'm here to tell you, virtual reality is an alternate reality. All of this is an alternate reality. Alternate realities are not real. There's only one reality. And if you withdraw from it, then you can't cope with it. And there's lots of ways that people withdraw from reality. And it used to be alcohol. Then it became drugs. And now it's the online world of social media and gaming and indoctrination, where you are pretend to be a Marxist. It's all a means to withdraw from reality, and God's not into that.
Yeah.
You want to have a relationship with God, it better be real. That's the reason why I was so hugely supportive of the Shannon tour, because it was real. You were going to press hands shake the hands of and break bread with covenant members. You were going to get in your car and drive to them and meet them where they lived in their homes and talk to them eye to eye. And that was real.
Nothing more real than that.
Yes. And you're going to talk, you guys, in your last meeting, you guys, I guess, have gotten together twice, but your last one, you were well into past midnight. And expect you to go at it the next day. I mean, that's just
we had to remember to go eat, because we sat out on the front porch and we talked from the second he got here until it was time for him to go up to the house and go to bed. I mean, it was like my wife came out and said, "Are you guys going to eat? I've made food." Oh yeah, okay, all right. So we move inside and go eat. So the whole time.
That's real. And what you're talking about is a God who is real, and a universe that is real, on a planet that is real, and choices that we have to make in our real and one and only lives is to whether or not it's going to be extended or not. And here's a tragedy. You had kids, they're snot-nosed 18, 17-year-old kids off with guns, killing because they were misled.
More to come. I have a feeling more to come.
Yeah, more to come. Oh, yeah, Islamophobic nation, Islamophobia. It wasn't Islamophobia. There's no such thing as Islamophobia. I am the foremost expert on the planet on Islam. And, I would tell everyone who lives and breathes, including Muslims, to read goddamn religion. Learn the truth about Islam. It's like I would tell every Christian to read Twistianity. It's impossible to read even through the first volume and remain a Christian. It'd be impossible to read through the first of the 5 volumes of goddamn religion and remain a Muslim. It's impossible. They do such an effective job of disproving the religion. This is an extremely important, noble, compassionate, courageous thing to do. Exercise your mind, not your trigger finger. Don't be violent. You make it worse. Those 2 numbskulls, those kids, even though they had a stupid agenda, but they didn't facilitate their agenda. They proved that their agenda was worthless. It's like the kid that went into the New Zealand mosque and he wanted to get rid of Muslims. But what he did is he fanned the flames of Islam. He got the whole country wrapped, supportive of Islam because of what he did. You're counterproductive. I mean, start thinking. Kentucky congressman. So that was migrated
Back
from
to
Tennessee
Massie
to
again.
Kentucky. I got that part right. And it is just the bottom line that Trump absolutely owns the Republican Party. And the
he will
Democratic
eat his
Party is
own.
owned by Marxists. So you got Bernie Sanders and AOC that own the Democratic Party, that is comprised of Marxists that are completely out of touch with reality and productivity and what America was built on. And then you've got these idiots that are MAGA, Twistian MAGAs, and the Republican Party, controlled by Trump. America, yeah, you got nothing. There is no way that any informed, moral person can vote for either side.
Right.
The lesser of two evils is still evil. Oh,
Yes.
God. So much bullshit on out there in the internet. First of all, you're going to say that the 10 Commandments are the foundation of God's throne. And then what do you have on the front of that throne? Don't you have little spiky things? Do you think that God's going to sit down on those spiky things? And how could you sit down when you have the cherubim right in the middle of what you say is a throne? So there's no place to sit. And if you tried to sit, you'd have those pokey things up your behind.
Right.
So come on. If you're going to present it as a throne, at least know how it was designed. All right. Simple. Okay. And second of all, there are no commandments.
Right.
There's 10 instructions. And those 10 instructions say, don't be religious. And yet you're promoting religion. And oh, by the way, those 10 instructions, they were written by Yahweh, who didn't call himself God. As a matter of fact, the third that he wrote says that if you negate the value of my name, Yahweh, you will never be forgiven. I don't see Yahweh's name there. So they're promoting the 10 Commandments, and they violated the most important of them.
Important.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, the 10 statements, they're not foundational. They're summaries. They're the opposite of a foundation. You build the thing and you write a little summary. I say, okay, I'll give you a little summary of what I just did. The 10 statements are a summary. They're not the foundation. The covenant is the foundation. That's why it's called the Ark of the
Covenant, Bereth, yeah.
And by the way, the 2 tablets, they're not made of gold. They're not all shiny. It is a chest, which means it's enclosed, which means you can't see through it. And the Son is not God. They got everything wrong.
Yeah, maybe those little spiky things are so that ball doesn't roll off the top as the Israelites are walking through the desert with it, carrying it. Just
They're going to do marshmallows. They're going to do s'mores.
s'mores.
Put the marshmallows on that. Put the manna on it. Well, it's supposed to be manna.
Well, there's the table for
I am looking forward to seeing the actual Ark of the Covenant. It's obvious how it was made because it is the top is the mercy seat. That's why we know it is a seat. Yahweh refers to it as a throne. It is Dowd's throne, and he is the returning king. And of course, the religious have no clue that Dowd is the returning king, or that is his throne, or that it is going to be as brilliant as the sun in our presence and in Yahweh's presence, because Dowd happens to be the Gadol Mayor, the greater of the luminaries. And oh, by the way, you are not going to want to meet him if you're religious, because he is exceedingly angry. If you're religious, he despises you. He views you as vile excrement. Oopsie. Oh, here. Lindsey Graham. I always want to puke. Every time I see that piece of shit, I just really want to puke. He is just the nastiest, most vile creature on the planet, second only to Trump. Well, Lindsey Graham says, I'm so heartbroken over this senseless shooting at the Islamic Center. He is the architect of the Ukrainian proxy war against Russia. 2 million people are dead. Many of them are children. because of him. He is the one that pushed Trump into bombing Iran. 250 little girls going to school were the victims of the first day. That man is a mass murderer. And he wants to speak about the senseless shooting and how we have to stand together against senseless killing when he is the ultimate warmonger, mass murderer. Talk about dangerous and sick times. He is the most dangerous and sick of them all. For you in the Carolinas to continue to elect this piece of human refuge, you're out of your ever-loving minds. That is scum. Now, what do you really think of him?
Right. Yeah, it's.
So, Shannon,
it's
has anybody ever complained to Boyd? He is really hard on my favorite political persuasion, or he doesn't speak very nicely of religions. And couldn't he be a little softer and a little more accommodating? Did you get much of that as you traveled around?
Be bold and confident and courageous. And
so most covenant members identify with that.
Yes, backbone. Have some backbone.
Yeah. Because do you ever see? I was saying, oh yeah, well, I'll forgive him. You know, everybody makes mistakes, no big deal. So what? He's a warmonger. So what? Bunch of people have died because of him. You know, we just all get along. He's a politician. We need to respect our politics. I don't see Yahweh saying any of that. Do you?
No, not at all.
No. In fact, when Yahweh speaks of humility, he always speaks of humility as a consequence of doing stupid stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Says if you're going to do stupid stuff, you're going to be humbled. And then he always speaks of Shazak and of Gabor as the way that he wants his people to be. Gabor means, stout, strong, resilient, courageous, bold. And Shazak is that on steroids. It means absolutely uncompromising, fiercely loyal. And your stand. Take no prisoners is Shazak.
Right.
But God doesn't do stupid.
Oh, Lindsey Graham will never even be in Yahweh's presence. I won't even get a whiff of.
He
won't even get a whiff of Yahweh.
There are people that are just so evil that their trial will be the responsibility of those that are have earned Yahweh's trust. I may be given the responsibility, but it could be any one of our covenant family given the responsibility to annihilate that piece of worm rot. This presentation is actually interesting. They use wrong terms all the way through. They talk about a Bible and there's no Bible, and they talk about the Lord and there's no Lord. But that's not the kind of crown that Dowd would have worn, and they use the wrong term for Dowd. But they know that you got to be really careful what you're talking about here, and you want to be all snooty about your bloodlines. Dowd's grandmother was a Moabite, and if you go back further than that, Abraham and Sarah were Babylonians, and their kids and their children's children and their children's children's children were all Babylonians. And the only thing that distinguished the Babylonians from Israelites and Yehud was a naming convention. That's it. So there's a picture of Dowd, and the fact of the matter is, his grandmother was a Moabite. All right, this will be our last one here. Kevin, here we are. Smotrich, you go back 3-4 years ago. I followed him because of the fact that he was one of the few people who would actually articulate something sensible. Mm-hmm. You could read what he had to say, and most of what he had to say was sensible. Not so much anymore. He has become a caricature, caught up in his own religious vomit. He is highly divisive now, and being divisive is good if you're divisive on behalf of Yahweh, but he is not. He is divisive on behalf of the worst of Judaism, which in Israel is the Haredi sect. Shannon, the Jews would like you to believe it. Well, we are the first monotheistic religion, and we go back, where the wellspring from which Christianity and Islam ultimately came. Do you know when the Haredi sect of Judaism was conceived?
I do not.
18th century. 18th century. Not 18th century BC or BCE.
Right.
18th century CE. And
Right.
you think that that it being Israeli and all that sort of thing, your Judaism is equivalent to being a Jew, so you would think it'd be in the land of the Jews, wouldn't you? And that, do you think, where Haredi Judaism was conceived, or do you happen to know where the Haredi sect was conceived? You know, don't you, Kevin?
Oh, the Ukraine. Dr. Jeff covered it yesterday. Yeah. Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine. So Haredi, which is the only form of Judaism acceptable in Israel today, it's the ones that the blacks, the black hats, the black mourning suits, and many of the shamils. And they call themselves ultra Orthodox in New York, but they're Haredi. That sect was conceived in the Ukraine in the 18th century by a guy who was quasi-illiterate, Baal Shem Tov.
Mm-hmm.
And he did not have a good name, but his first name happened to be Israel ben Eliezer. He didn't write anything down. Not a single book written by him. And that's the dominant strain of Judaism. So Judaism as a religion now is from the 18th century. And it's Ukrainian. Really sad.
Wow.
And we have a real problem with when somebody writes that Smotrich is celebrating an Israeli festival with illegal settlers in Hebron. And that would be like saying Hebron? That the Germans are illegal settlers in Munich. I mean,
right. That's
you're going to say that the Arabs are illegal settlers in Arabia?
Right.
I mean, Hebron is an Israeli town.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So how could Israelis be illegal settlers in an Israeli town? And the problem is that there are illegals in the Israeli town that want to take that town and the whole country, called Muslims. But the fact of the matter is, you can't be an illegal settler in Hebron as a Jew. Impossible.
Impossible. Absolutely.
No, the world is really turned upside down. And so he's joined with illegal Israeli settlers, near an Ibrahimi mosque in Hebron. You know why they have Ibrahimi? Because the damn rabbis sold Talmud stories about Abraham to the Muslims, to Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
And they screwed up the pronunciation of his name. Muhammad was illiterate after all. And they incorporated the idiocy of the Talmud of Abraham, little Abe, making hammering, axing idols, and he left only the biggest one. And he's talking about how the biggest one is the best of them, and he's worshiping the sun and the moon, and he is quoting directly from the Talmud. It's Talmudic trash about the story of Abraham and the idols as a boy, and his father was an idol maker, and he took the axe and chopped them all up, except the largest one, which was the one that was able to talk. And if all the other idols are gone and you're left with the largest idols, that idol must be God, right? No, I mean, it was rabbinic trash that became Islamic trash, and there would be no Islam today if it wasn't for the idiots that are parading around like rabbis. You caused it. You wrote it. You sold it. And you've undermined your own people. So to promote this, Smotrich says that you're not thinking. You're ignorant.
you're really killing your own people twice over money. I mean, you're killing them through their relationship with Yahweh, their soul, and you're killing them through, Muslims. It's
you've killed them twice over. 3 times over if you count Christianity that stole your Messiah, and you helped them steal your Messiah. So Shannon, it is a frustration. When are you starting your series on, and are you going to calling our next witness?
Yes, I am. I'm standing behind Leah 100%.
Okay. All right. Good. That's nothing wrong with doing that, and you're going to co-host it with Matt with Cats, which ought to be a lot of fun. And you've got a good setup there. I like your cabin. It's beautifully done, and even like the chinking between the logs. That's a beautiful setup you've got there. So pretty soon we're gonna see the first calling our next witness.
Yes, this Sunday.
Okay.
I actually have Mark Miller is flying up from Orlando Friday. I'm going to pick him up from Roanoke Airport.
Okay.
He's going to spend the weekend with me, and he's going to be our first guest Sunday.
Wow. Oh, wonderful. You're going to do it the old-fashioned way, man. You're going to do it in person.
I'm going to bring him here. Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. I love it. Yeah, it's typical Shannon as to why I thought you'd be such a. I mean, there is no one who can do that series better than you. You are the man when it comes to it. In fact, I even think Kevin scolded you a bit. Said, you're being called out for this show on every one of the podcasts. I'm calling you out and say, you are the perfect guy to do this. And this is something that really needs to be done. And so finally, Kevin said, hey, man, how come you're not writing me? We need to get this going.
I was hiding.
You were hiding.
I told him I used to, flesh, people. When I look, and it'll take getting used to, looking into a tech device instead of somebody's right there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a real difference. There are people who in the past have taken the face. You could take Kevin's here, and you could have the microphone or the camera, come out in the middle of the face. It could be the nose, and then you're looking at a person. And there are people who have done that. One of the things I have done here that has really helped, because for the most part, I'm speaking just speaking to either camera lenses or into teleprompters, so I can read the translations that I have written. But that takes some doing, because you're surrounded by all these bright lights, and your eyes have to focus on something that is much darker, and to realize that there's a camera there. But one of the things we have done here recently is we have put the live stream of the show on monitors. So we have monitors now in every studio, and there's a live stream of the show on those monitors. Then we put another camera. This one right here is just right there above this monitor. So when I'm looking, I can actually look at you while I'm talking because the monitor's there. So the thing I keep on encouraging everyone to do when they're going to be hosting one of these shows is most everybody has a laptop. In fact, you can buy because all it has to be is an internet-based laptop. It doesn't have to have anything. It doesn't have to have Word, Office, doesn't have to anything. It's just an internet-based laptop. Or they make now these things. I've got one here to my right, little cube. They're, how desktop computers used to be. And in fact, Perry just showed me the latest one that he has brought to our house. It's the size of a horse. But he says, man, it's geared up, man. That thing's got power to burn. But now the desktops now are about 4 inches by 4 inches by 2 inches, and that's a full-on computer. And you plug everything into it, and you can buy a monitor for $150. And these things they run $300 to $400 for one of those, or you can buy a laptop now for $200, $250. But if you're doing that, then you can actually have the live feed from StreamYard, and you have to have the live feed because if you were looking at the live stream on YouTube or Facebook or X that you're streaming to, it's about an 8-second delay. So that would be really awkward. You'd see I'm making a gesture, and right now when I make that gesture, there's about a half a second delay from my hand moving to it showing up on the screen, because this is the live feed from StreamYard. But if we were to bring up on our screens the live feed to YouTube, for example, where we air these, that's an 8-second delay. It's really, really hard to do that. I have a big screen TV on the other side. We said, we'll just bring that up on YouTube. And when you see yourself, you make a gesture, and then 8 seconds later, that gesture happens there.
Wait for it.
Whoa, is that ever awkward? But if you're speaking to a laptop, then your advantage is that you're not looking at a camera anymore. I'm looking at your face. I'm looking at Kevin's face. I can watch your lips move. I can see when your eyes open. I can see when you lean forward and I want to make a contribution. I want to say something at this point. It's now you're not talking into a camera. You're talking to the person.
Right.
And it's a huge advantage. That's why the rich cam, that little tiny guy that was $118, I think, is so valuable, because that little guy sits right on the top of your laptop or on one of these monitors. I got 3 more that arrived at the house yesterday. They're anywhere from $100 to $120, and they're really high definition monitors, and you can plug them into any computer, and there you go. And you're looking now at the person you're talking to, and it's so much more natural. And that's why you see so many of these more popular vlogs today, and you see there's a little laptop there, because that gives them the ability to see the show as it's being broadcast, and they can see the person they're talking to, which is much more comfortable than this idea. If I'm going to look into that camera right there and I have no idea what Kevin is doing or what you're doing, I'm just going to talk into the camera. You get lost, and you're not even able to follow the fact that you're trying to have a conversation with somebody.
This helps. Looking at you and looking at Kevin, that makes it more real.
Yeah. There's not. I mean, is it more comfortable when you're in that white chair that Wookie right now is commandeering? He's holding your chair down. And by the way, Cara does say hi. She misses you. But
my swimming partner.
Your swimming partner. Yeah. You got Asher. She's already been for the swim. She's taking a nap. She's post swim at the moment. It really isn't all that different, like with the Kevin. We keep on kidding Kevin to say you're going to move the island like everybody else. And by the way, we're not encouraging a bunch of people moving the island, but the fact of the matter is, Kevin is so devoted to what we're doing and so essential. But the reality is, there's really not a lot of difference. I mean, I find he's in my swimming pool on many shows. He's on my back porch sometimes. If I had ever broadcast from the master bedroom, he'd be in my bed for all I know. So you'd have to be careful. Right now, that picture, that's the old tree in the sea. That picture actually sits in the master right now above the dresser. That's the old man and which is the old tree, and literally the old tree in the sea, which just turned out to be so perfect for what we're doing. But that's the picture of the Carmel Coast that Captain Kirk painted for us. So it's like he's here. When for years I had this farm in Virginia, where you're in Virginia, in Roanoke, which of course in Charlottesville we call Roanoke. I don't know why we ever did that. Nothing is a joke, but it's just that it rhymed, I guess. And I built a cabin that was actually full on log cabins. I built the cabin I was born in. Thought it would be nostalgic, by a little stream. So I happen to really relate to cabin architecture. I just think it's a fun palette to play on. But all this is good.
Yes.
So you look very comfortable.
I am, and I would like to say, anyone who's listening, if they want to contact me and go ahead and say that they are interested, then I can go ahead and be doing my scheduling for, you know, ahead of time.
Right.
And so,
and we've got 7 years and 1,000 years to do this.
okay.
So you want to be a foundational member of Calling Our Next Witness, because then you'll be at the beginning of that playlist that will be playing for the next 7 years and then 1,000 years thereafter. And by the way, you know, as we go through that 1,000 years celebration of Sukkah and we bring the mortal remnant into it, there'll be mortal remnant all the way through that will become covenant. And so you're going to have lots of people to interview. This is going to be an ongoing gig for you.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Yeah, and you get to introduce people, get to know them, and share their life story with all of us. While, you know, part of it too is you don't just have to talk to them about how they came to this, but what matters to them.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and where is it they feel they can contribute? Because that's really an important part of what God wants, is we all contribute.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and you found your niche.
I think this is a very good thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
Good idea. It was a good idea.
I'm delighted with Joe built us. He built it, and they will come. Yeah. It is absolutely true. The home for Yahweh's name. Well, thank you. I'm going to get on my phone, find out how our pal Rich is doing. Also get up from the chair because my legs are swelling as we began on our talk. We all, 3 of the 4 of us here share something in common, and that is that our lower extremities are now struggling with too much fluid. You've got issues with your legs that you're going in and out of the doctor now and getting prescribed medications. We've got Rich at the hospital now getting analyzed in terms of what's wrong with his. Both legs are bad. I mean, he has all sorts of hand control issues that have been a problem for years, but right now he has one leg. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the color of his leg. His leg is bright red. Yeah. The right one is twice the size of the left one in diameter, and it is causing significant pain. And it's getting worse and getting worse quickly, which is why we have him at the doctor today. We're going to ship him off to Florida on Monday with Leah to get a full support. We don't really have much medical attention here on the island, but at least they're going to get us in the right direction today. And you're getting medical treatment, so you're in the right direction. Yes. And I'm just going to deal with it because I don't have any time to do anything other than deal with it. And I think we'll be okay. And we got Perry, who seems to be in great health. We just had to move. We had to move Rich from one condo to another here recently, which is really a very positive move. He's now only 3 minutes away from where we are here. He spends all day, here 5 days a week, and gets his 3 squares a day here, and is very much involved in making this all possible. But during that move, Perry was he was carrying 3-4 times more than the rest of us could. I was about a third of Perry, and Rich was about a third of me, and then Leah would carry the paper towels.
Well, you took Perry from me because he was only an hour and 15 minutes away from me. We met
man, well I'm sorry.
I missed my dark chocolates he was bringing me. You just took him from me.
You were I'm bad. No wonder you didn't sign up for this show. No wonder you were hiding. I'm a bad dude, man. By the way, Perry showed up. I did not steal him. I can tell you. I remember the day that Leah told me, "You're picking Perry up at the airport. He's arriving at 2:00 today." And I say, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, Perry's arriving at 2:00. Well, is he coming for a visit? How come I didn't know that he was coming for a visit? No, he is not coming for a visit. He's moving here. He's going to live here. So I'm saying, would you run that? I mean, this is a man that I think I had 2 conversations with on the telephone. And you tell me he's moving. I'm picking him up. He is moving here. Yep. Yeah, we're gonna move him in the house. And oh, by the way, don't worry about it. He's already he's leased his a condo out. So he's got his car here. He's already moved. Everything is here. So I can tell you, Shannon, there's a lot of things that I can take responsibility for, and I'll certainly, if it was me, man, I'll be all on it and say, yeah, it was me, pal. I did it. Bad me. I didn't do this one to you.
I miss him.
Yeah, well, yeah. But by the way, with Rich out, and Rich is just exceptional. I mean, he just moved into our house like he's family. But with Rich out today, we wouldn't be doing the show if it wasn't for the fact that Perry is here. And the things that get, a lot of things get positioned on the site, Perry is the guy that's driving all of that. And as we try to move our audiobooks into avatars, it's Perry's fascination with, and the equipment that he owns with the computers that are going to pave the way. So, God says, all right, it's time for you to show up. They need what you have, and you can continue to do your thing if I position everybody where they're supposed to be. So
it's all working out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you want to get mad at somebody, Shannon, get mad at tell me, by the way, when you do that, tell me how it works out. Yeah, tell me how it works out for you. Because I've tried it and it didn't work out at all for me. So
Perry's a great guy. I'm glad he's there.
Yeah. Oh, I know you're yanking my chain, and I don't have any problem with that. But I did want you to know that in this case, I wasn't working behind your back.
Well, I just miss my dark chocolates more than Perry, really.
I have dipped some dark chocolates for Leia already.
Oh my, he is the confectioner of chocolate. He is really talented. It's interesting that I went from being reasonably slim. I was
you can't blame that on me.
Yeah, I was working out a lot and eating sparingly, and then I met Leia, and she was a spectacular chef. I trained in France and Italy, and Leia, from Leia's point of view, food is love. And so it's really a great scheme. There's no chance you're going to run away when if you feed them enough. There they are now. But it's I got used to Leia's kitchen, and I love to cook and I love to be in the kitchen. I'm just not very good at it. I'm pretty good with fire and meat, though. I'm good with the barbecue, and I can still do that job. But and I probably have 10 different types of barbecues here, so I'm an aficionado when it comes to barbecuing, but I can't go in the kitchen anymore. And what ended up happening, we have a housekeeper here that is a renowned chef on the island. And so 2 days a week, we have Lisa cook, and she is really talented. And the days that we don't have Lisa cook, now we have Perry cook, and he's quite the chef too. So we're eating good around here, although we made a rule here that we'd only have 2 meals a day. So we have breakfast and we have a dunch. So mid-afternoon, that is you can call it lunch, you can call it dinner, but that's just the last meal of the day, and there is just 2 of them. So that's where we are. And I'm sorry that have stolen your guy, pal.
Yeah, I know he's in good hands.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. Look forward to our next chat. Thank you for doing this. Calling our next witness, Kevin. As always, thank you, and Perry, thank you for being the king of the cables. We'll be with you again either later today or tomorrow. Captain Kirk tomorrow, don't we?
Yes, we do. Captain Kirk tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.